Hello everybody. This is going to be a series of 3 videos, and this is the first video in the series concerning the proposed rules from the FAA on remote identification of all UAS. Now, I got to tell you, this is going to absolutely destroy the RC hobby as a whole, and probably many more things are going to be destroyed hobby-wise because of this. I will be putting a direct link to the now published document in the description, along with a link to the page that gets you to that, which has a basic description, which really is not informative whatsoever, so you need to really look at the document. Now, this part here is going to be questions. These are all the questions I would like to present about this whole issue. So, it's going to sound like I'm reading off of notes, which I am. I am reading off of these notes because it took me 2 days to put all this together. I just don't want to miss any of these questions, and I probably haven't even covered all the questions, so if you can think of any more, put them in the description. So we'll get this going somehow. We definitely got to fight this, so here we go. I have read this proposed remote ID rules in its entirety 3 times and scanned over it a few more. I couldn't believe what I was reading the first time, and I still cannot believe it. All I can say is that this entire document is the most insane, uneducated, unwarranted document that I've ever encountered to date. By this document, I can guarantee you that not a single one of the people in the FAA or our government have ever had any experience with the RC hobby, not even as a spectator. They have never flown an RC aircraft, driven an RC car or truck, and I can guarantee you that not one of them has ever experienced FPV. The people involved in this proposal, including the FAA, obviously don't even know what the term drone means. A drone, by definition, is an autonomous vehicle, whether it be land, sea, or air, that is capable of navigating and carrying out tasks without human intervention. Nearly 100% of what we do in the RC hobby has no autonomy at all, and certainly does not even come close to the definition of a drone. The RC hobby is one major area that has greatly advanced technology in aviation, and continues to do so. New ideas and technologies are tested in RC aircraft, much of it by hobbyists, much more than you realize, long before it is put into manned aircraft for testing, hence eliminating the unnecessary risk of human pilots' lives. The RC hobby sparks and holds the interest in our younger population to pursue further education and professions in technology and aviation. And furthermore, the RC hobby has an impeccable and incomparable record for safety. So on to the questions here. What about the technology and especially aviation programs in schools and colleges? You will have to eliminate these programs as well under these rules. Do we eliminate any and all education and college degrees involving technology and aviation? That is my question. The result of this proposal would in fact eliminate these programs, and in just a short time there will be no one left to advance the technology. Kids and young adults in these programs have come up with some of the greatest technology advances in history. To eliminate or even restrict them to this level would put a stop to progress and innovation. Our younger population would quickly lose interest because nothing is available or accessible to them to shape their young minds and encourage them to pursue the fields of technology and aviation. What about those of us in the RC hobby that innovate, invent, test, and then submit our ideas to technology and aviation companies, in turn advancing the industry? Many people in the RC hobby have advanced these technologies more than anyone realizes. I myself have many innovative ideas, but I need to find someone who can help me with certain aspects of which I am not an expert. What about the many disabled people like myself that the RC hobby and RC aviation has helped? For many of us like me, it is the only thing that has helped our disabilities. Many of us like myself cannot travel the distance to an AMA field, but we can fly in a close-by field or on our own property if large enough. What will happen to us? All that's going to happen is we will simply regress back to the way we were, and worse, without this hobby. How exactly is the RC hobby a major threat when 99.99% of us in the RC hobby are doing things safe, not putting anyone in danger? Again, the RC hobby has an impeccable and incomparable record for safety. How are us FPV freestyle and racing multi-rotor pilots a threat when we are in small spaces and areas flying at an altitude under 100 feet or 200 feet, and rarely above that, and always under 400 feet. I personally have broken the 300-foot mark only a couple of times when getting used to a new camera lens, and once when a major updraft gust caught my multi-rotor off the valley next to where I fly. My camera lenses make it look like I'm higher up than I actually am, and especially that 1.8 millimeter lens that I have on one multi-rotor. That thing's just crazy. It makes it look like you're really high up. So now, speaking of safety in the hobby, let's do a comparison here. How many people have been injured in the RC hobby? A few. You know, you get your typical injuries, like, you know, you trying to start one of your gas or airplanes and you get your finger smacked by a prop or something like that, or, you know, an accidental arming switch on an electric aircraft or vehicle and spins up and you catch your finger or something. You know, minor injuries. Okay, that happens. It happens to all of us, you know, as part of the hobby. Now, how many people have been killed by the RC hobby? The RC hobby has been around for 100 years, give or take, and there have been fewer deaths caused by anything RC than you can count on one hand. And each of those, of course, were a horrible tragedy and purely an accident. But then nothing, and I mean nothing, is 100% safe. Here's a comparison. How many have been killed by the commercial airlines, including those that were on the ground to begin with? I started looking into this, and the numbers would just not stop after several hours of research. It was just too disturbing, and I stopped looking. The number of deaths caused by commercial airlines is unfathomable, and the death toll will continue to grow with no end. How many have been killed by private manned aircraft, including those that were on the ground? I just did a quick search, and the numbers were still extremely disturbing. I could not look at it anymore after all the commercial airline deaths that I was researching. Okay, here's another comparison. How many have been killed by cell phones being the direct cause, whether walking, driving, or whatever they were doing? It's in the thousands. I again stopped looking after a while. Many more people have been killed by trying to take a selfie than in the RC hobby. How many people are killed by motor vehicles? I just looked at how many were killed daily. It is very disturbing. How many killed by drunk drivers? Same here, on a daily basis. Very disturbing. I can go on and on with the how many have been killed by this or that. There's just too much out there, and the numbers are far beyond comprehension. There is no comparison with the numbers. The RC hobby, by the numbers, is proven to be the absolute safest activity. More people have been killed in every other single activity, including just walking. So here's some more questions. Why is it that hang gliders, parasails, ultralights, hot air balloons, skydivers, and the basic kite, etc., do not need to be ID'd, registered, or licensed in any way? The FAA can't even get manned aircraft tracking systems, operations, and regulations even close to working correctly, and they want to eradicate the RC hobby, claiming it to be the biggest threat? How about doing something about the people in manned aircraft that are breaking the rules and putting people in serious danger? Many, many times I have seen manned aircraft flying through the valley where I live at 100 to 150 feet above the houses. My home is on the hillside, and there have been many times that they are at eye level to me standing on my porch, which puts them below 100 feet above homes in the middle of the valley. What about kids that just want to fly their kites and toy gliders at their local park? What are you going to do about the hobbies of kites and hand-thrown gliders as a whole? You would have to eliminate these hobbies as well. How is eradicating the RC hobby going to stop terrorists and enhance national security? I can tell you now, anyone bent on compromising our national security will find a way to get around any systems you put in place and will never follow regulations or laws at any level of government. How is eliminating all RC hobbyists and putting tracking on everything you consider to be drones, which is everything, going to make everything safer? You are obviously trying to eradicate the RC hobby to make way for commercial delivery drones. And here, more importantly, how is having tens of thousands of 5 to 50 pound or heavier delivery drones running around my community and every other community going to be safer than me going to a remote field and flying my RC aircraft under the 400-foot ceiling? And how is it safer than a kid with a toy aircraft in his own yard? How are you going to stop bird strikes from taking down one of these delivery drones? There are birds in my area alone that have wingspans of 6 feet. And what about all the smaller birds? Are you going to make regulations that every single bird of every single species must have remote ID and tracking on them? How are you going to guarantee 100% that none of these commercial delivery drones will ever be taken down by a bird or any possibility of a failure? One of these commercial delivery drones coming down due to a bird strike or failure into traffic on the ground will cause deadly motor vehicle accidents. And also, what if they hit a person or a crowd of people, causing severe injury or death and causing damage to private property even? How are you going to 100% guarantee that this will not happen ever? Again, the RC hobby has an impeccable and incomparable record of safety. How are you going to stop all these paranoid people that hate anything that flies from shooting these commercial delivery drones out of the sky? There are many, many people that are already out there shooting any drone out of the sky that they see. Just here in my surrounding area, there have been several cases, realtors and surveyors having their drones shot down and destroyed. The losses are going to be extremely high, completely undermining any possible profit with commercial delivery drones. How are you going to stop criminals from taking these commercial delivery drones out of the sky to steal and resell the parts? Again, the losses are going to be extremely high. How are you going to stop terrorists and all those bent on compromising national security from hijacking these commercial drones or stealing them and using them to meet their agendas? The FAA still can't seem to stop manned aircraft from being hijacked. And again, anyone bent on compromising our national security will find a way to get around any systems you put in place and will never follow regulations or laws at any level of government. Now, I do admit there are people out there that break current rules that are in place, but they make up a minuscule percentage. They need to be educated and guided. There are two types of people that are, with no question, most often breaking the rules. The first group are those people that go out and purchase a multi-rotor, such as the DJI Phantom, for example, or similar in function, to take selfies or whatever else they do with them. They have absolutely no idea what they're doing and are clueless about rules and regulations. All they care about is, look at me. Those people are typically the ones that have video blogs of every second of their lives to get attention, because being the center of attention is what defines their self-worth. The second group are those that go and buy a multi-rotor like the selfie drones and larger because they think they are cool and trendy. Or they have the intention to do something stupid with it in the first place. And they are also completely clueless or just don't care about every aspect of the rules, safety, or its operations. These two groups are typically the ones that fly around airports over restricted areas and exceed the 400-foot ceiling just to get that good shot for their video blogs. There are also the ones that just want to see how high it can go. I have had quite a few people that have shown interest in my FPV multi-rotors and the hobby ask me, how high can it go? I always tell them 400 foot legally, and I am always under that limit, almost always under 200 feet. They seem very disappointed that I won't go higher just so they can see it happen. Both of these groups need to be educated. There will always be someone out there breaking the rules, and that cannot be prevented. But that is not a justified reason to eradicate the entire RC hobby. Again, the RC hobby has an impeccable and incomparable record for safety. So I ask you, the FAA, how exactly is the RC hobby a major threat? Now, those are my current questions that I want to propose. I want to put these questions out here. Now, this is only the first part of the series, and just stay tuned for the next two parts. And I really appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions that I have missed, put them in the comments, and we will probably put together yet another video that will include questions from the comments that have not already been covered here. So yeah, again, thanks for watching, guys, and we will catch you on the next one.